just doing a mic check. Can you hear me?
A little more volume.
Try this. Can you hear me?
More.
How about how about this? Scared myself. The sun is right in my eyes, so I'm going to do a lot of this. Sorry about that. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Dubow. I am Tish's daughter. My sister Nicole is sitting over here. I just want to do a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. And if you have a cell phone, obviously, please either turn it off or mute it so that we won't have any issues with the cell phones. Right before my father speaks, I'm going to ask if anybody has anything that they would like to add or contribute. So if there's something you want to add, you can start thinking about it now. Lunch, light lunch is going to be served in, there is a building kind of up and over that white building. We're going to have a light lunch after the service. And you are absolutely, once we are finished, welcome to walk around the grounds. You can see behind me is the Hudson River, beautiful picture opportunities. The only thing we ask is that there are other, as you can see, there are other buildings on these grounds. There is a sisterhood of nuns who live and work here, and there are private residences on the grounds. So we just ask that you not enter any other buildings, because again, there are private residences here on the grounds. The bathrooms are also in the building where we are going to be having lunch. There are plenty of restrooms. Feel free to use them at any time. Okay. So I will start a little bit low, but we'll finish on a high note because I like continuous improvement. So without getting too much into the details of Alzheimer's disease, I would just like to say that it is a very debilitating disease, and my mother dealt with it for approximately 11 years, beginning from when her behaviors started to become peculiar until her death a couple of months ago. Sorry. With that, I would like to publicly thank the staff at Kendall-on-Hudson, where my father still currently resides, doctors, nurses, aides, administrative staff, and anyone else who played a part in making the transition the smoothest it could possibly be. They took over when the family could no longer care for Tish and provided quality care for the duration of her illness. We're going to go up a little bit. If you're a parent, and many of you, probably most of you, are parents, there is an unwritten rule at some point in your life. Part of your job description is you must be an embarrassment to your children. Tish was an incredibly intelligent human being, but I don't think I have enough time to recall the times I wanted to bury my head in the sand for some of the times that she made me a little bit crazy. In reality, some of the things that made me want to crawl under a rock, I would not even blink an eye at now. She was unapologetic in her convictions and beliefs, and had ample reason for doing the things she did. In my younger years, she liked to make her own yogurt. She had a salt and yogurt maker. And I always said, Mom, why can't you buy yogurt at the grocery store like everybody else? But that was her thing. She also liked to make her own bread. And again, I would say, Mom, why can't you buy Wonder Bread at the grocery store like everybody else? In fact, she was way ahead of her time. When everyone during COVID was making their own sourdough bread, she was 30 years in advance over them. She made ratatouille, which I thought was hippie food, but I've since grown to really love it. And I would also accompany her on excursions to the co-op, which I thought was a hippie hangout, for fresh fruit and fresh vegetables, which she loved and used to cook wonderful, wonderful things. During my high school years, one of the cars Tish drove was a bright yellow Toyota Corolla station wagon. My high school friends named it the Yellow Submarine. She claimed it was easy to find in the parking lot, and she always had room to put things in the backpack. And if you're my age, you know what the backpack is. Prior to that, there was another Toyota station wagon with brown paneling. You had to have had brown paneling when you grew up with Tish, because it didn't matter. While I do not make my own yogurt or bread, I definitely have inherited many of her convictions, for which I am also unapologetic. She done good, and I do thank her for that. She had incredibly strong political convictions, as well as reasons for doing things her way, usually accompanied by maybe an abrasive but a very logical explanation. And as an adult, it really makes sense to me now. I would like to thank, before I thank all of you, I would like to thank Mother Nature, because I am I'm a weather junkie. I watch the weather every morning at 7:17, and I watch it again every night at 11:17. And 10 days ago, we were supposed to have rain and have it be cloudy and horrible and cold and yucky. And thank you, Mother Nature. The weather held out. We have a very beautiful day. I would also like to thank everyone who has attended today. When Nicole and I looked at places to hold the memorial, we started out as what was always to me South Nyack Village Hall. South Nyack Village Hall, I guess, technically doesn't exist anymore. Am I correct?
Yep. Yes.
It doesn't exist anymore. To me, it will always be the South Nyack Village Hall, which is it's about 3 miles south of here, due south, for those of you who live in Nyack. It's actually been turned into a coffee shop on the bottom level. We thought it very appropriate for 2 reasons. The first, it was where my mother spent a great deal of her time being the mayor of South Nyack. Many, many years. And secondly, we were only counting on about 15 to 20 people to come. It's good. And right now we are somewhere approaching 80 or 90. So I thank you for that. Some of you are practically from around the corner. Some have come from 3,000 miles away. And some of you have come an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. It doesn't matter. We appreciate that you're here. So on behalf of my father, my sister, and I thank you for making the time to come and celebrate Tish's life. So next, we are going to have a reading by my sister Nicole, Our Lives Matter. Hi all. Hi. This is a short poem by a Unitarian minister. Her name is Maureen Killoran. We come from a long line of Unitarians, so I thought this was particularly apt. It's called Our Lives Matter. We come together from the diversity of our grieving to gather in the warmth of this community, giving stubborn witness to our belief that in times of sadness, there is room for laughter. In times of darkness, there will always be light. May we hold fast to the conviction that what we do with our lives matters and that a caring world is possible after all. Next, we would like to welcome up Harriet Cornell, who is our Rockland County Legislator, to have a few remarks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
also honored to be here, to have been asked to speak by Tish's daughters. And I have written a few things that I will read to you. This, of course, is for her husband, her daughters, all of her relatives, and all of you who are friends who have made the journey here today. I'm short, so I'm going to try to stand up on my toes. I'm honored to be here today to speak about Tish Dubow, and very much appreciate being asked to do so by Tish's daughters, Reed and Nicole. In reading the many ways in which Tish enriched Rockland County, and especially the Nyacks, it is clear that she will long be remembered. In many ways, our political careers overlapped, but somehow each of us must have been so absorbed in our own political careers and families that we never really got to know one another. And what a pity, because we had so much in common. As many of you know, Tish was born in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, and graduated from Northfield School and Mount Holyoke College, both in Massachusetts. And she taught at various high schools and colleges, including Sweetbriar College in Virginia. In 1961, Tish married Eugene Dubow. Gene, where are you sitting? Yes, you're there. Of course you're there. And she continued her teaching career at Pearl River High School and Manhattanville. This was after she married Gene Dubow, who was a New Yorker. And I think I told you that her teaching career at Pearl River High School and Manhattanville College. She earned a Master's of Arts degree from NYU, and their daughter, Reed. Reed, where are you?
Right over
middle
here.
Name?
I don't like to, but you can
Okay.
go ahead and use it.
Then I won't ask you how you pronounce it. But in any event, let's see. Right, and you were born in this county, correct?
I was, Nyack
Yes,
Hospital.
in Nyack Hospital. So in 1970, the Dubows moved to the Chicago area, where their daughter Nicole Dana or Dana? Dana. Nicole Dana was born. Tish became interested in Illinois politics and served as the local coordinator for a House of Representatives candidate. She also took an interest in taxation and education in tax preparation. And I have to say, this definitely was not my interest at all, because both of my parents were in that line of work, and it never really appealed to me, so good for you. In 1980, the Dubows moved back to New York, South Nyack, of course, where Tish's interest in government and taxation blossomed. Her government interest led her to serve on various boards and committees in the village of South Nyack, where she eventually became mayor, serving for 7 years. She received her, let's see, this is my typing problem. She received her degree in taxation from Pace University and became active in the Democratic Party and Planned Parenthood, Hudson Peconic. When Tish was stricken with an Alzheimer's-related disease, she and Gene moved across the river to Kendall-on-Hudson, in Sleepy Hollow. Life plays many tricks on us, and we never really know what will befall each of us. I can only say from the bottom of my heart that this amazing woman should serve as a model for each of us. If any of us can achieve even a small part of what uh, Tish Dubow did throughout her life, we should rejoice. Jean, Reed, Nicole, thank you so much for asking me to speak today. I'm deeply honored and extend my heartfelt condolences to you and to Trish's sister, Deborah. Is that her sister? Yes, Deborah Brennan. I am submitting Tish's name to be added to a list of distinguished Rockland residents um, whose photos lie on they hang on the walls in the Rockland County Legislature. And they're seen by everyone who enters the legislative chambers. And I, by the way, I'm a legislator. So I've been a legislator since 1984, I believe. And this is my, you can figure it all out, but I'm still a legislator until the end of this year. But I have chosen not to run again for office. So if you want to talk to me or meet me or come to my house for dinner, I'll give you my phone number. Okay? So let's see. The, I mean, I think that Tish, who has done so much, I came with a lot of papers, things that I had, I think the daughters had sent me some things that she had written or things that people had written about her. And I'm not going to go through that because most of you know what she's done. But in terms of, she did some writing herself, quite a bit of it, that was published in the newspapers in Rockland County. Had to do was she wrote something about the Tappan Zee Bridge and the traffic problems. There's another article here before it goes away. It was, it says, the headline was Nyack Group receives grant to build Memorial Park gazebo. And it's my understanding that that she was very instrumental in getting that to happen, as well as many other things that made a difference in the village of Nyack and county. So I didn't want to make this too long, so I'm not going to. But Tish and I both were elected officials. Uh, we had a lot in common, but somehow we never really got to know one another as human beings. Each of us being busy with our families and with the jobs we were doing for the county that we loved. And all I can say is that I am so honored to have been asked to be here to speak about this wonderful person and to wish her family all the best. You obviously had the best woman you possibly could as your mother, as your husband, and as I say, I'm just totally honored to have been asked to speak. So thank you very much, and indeed, we are blessed with the wonderful weather.
Thank you, Harriet, very much. We are now going to hear a musical piece, The Swan. Nicole gave me permission to say a few words, and I'll be really brief. I'm going to play this piece called The Swan by Camile Saint-Saens, and many people
Between this and Swan Lake, they always associate the swan with death. The swan is dying. And I've done some research on this song, and I found out that a lot of other people look at it as a song about life, a song about the life of the swan, their loves, what they've done, and the love that other people had for them. So that's what I'd like to say about the swan. It's really about a life lived and loved.
That's okay.
And we hope the wind doesn't blow my song away.
Thank you, Jean. And at this point, I would ask if anyone would like to share any memories or thoughts. Don't feel pressured. But if anybody wants to say anything, you are more than welcome. I think the kids want to say something. Is there anybody who would like to share anything or any memories?
I would.
Okay. Outstanding.
Hi, I'm Dio Hagan, alias Dee Dee, and I took care of really Nicole. I think, how old were you, Edie, when I started babysitting?
Early teens, maybe?
Yeah, so she was pretty much on her own and made that very clear. But Nicole and I got to be extremely close, right, Nicole? Yep. I really kept a close eye on her. She used to say, "Why? Why do I have to come home before I go to my friend's house?" What was the name of that little girl that you were friends with? Right, that's it. So Jean and Tish were really almost like parents to me. I was probably 22 when I started working for them, and they just were extraordinarily generous people, which I think is a hallmark of who Tish Dubow was for me, and always was as a person. They gave me my first car, don't know if you remember it, Gene, but it was a K car. I couldn't even drive, so that was really generous of her. Yeah, I learned to drive by driving to LIU for my graduate degree, but that's another story. Anyway, I just wanted to say that I loved her dearly, and I love her children, and I love Jean, and she was a very important part of my life at a very crucial time when I didn't always have the support of my own mother. So, although she was too young to be my mother at that time, she was very, very good to me. They both were. So, thank you, Tish.
Thank you. Are there anybody else who'd like to share anything? Any remarks? You aren't required. Oh, I see a hand in the audience. Yahoo! This is Mark Mishler.
I'm Mark Mishler.
He's an accounting guy.
Tish and I work together, so I can tell you how she spent her days. We worked initially out of Fairleigh Dickinson University, and with her background in civics and politics, she always kept us on an even keel. She loved to go to meetings and conferences. She had great energy, very vibrant person, put in tremendous hours, and then I go home tired, and she's off helping out the politics in the county here. Things that she enjoyed with us, and as I say, taxes, tennis, and travel. We went to an aerobics class with the undergraduate students at Fairleigh Dickinson, and we were the most active of the whole group. There were times when, in addition to that, I would go skiing up in Butternut, and that opened up the whole area of growing up in Pittsfield and owning property there, and I appreciated that area a lot. We would go to conferences, and we would always introduce her as the mayor. And we'd meet people from New York City. Never met the mayor, but people who worked for him, and proudly would let her say, "This is the mayor," and she's involved with work for our business here. We moved the company. It was a publicly held company from Fairleigh Dickinson up to Orangeburg, very close. And I used to joke with her that she must have been on the search committee to get us to come closer to her place. The biggest interest and passion was her tennis. If you knew her, you played tennis. We would play at Fairleigh Dickinson. We would play after work. And the company had tickets to the U.S. Open. And our tax department had more than 50% of the people playing tennis continually. And we had some dibs on tickets. We would go there to Fresh Meadows. And I grew up in that area. We would start in the day session. And she liked to go to the top, where she could see many different courts and games taking place. And then towards the end of the session, she'd say, "Mark, I'm going to stay here for the evening session." And I was sunburned and ready to go home. So she loved to do that. She also had a great passion for travel. I remember her going to India and her coming back and telling us about the great trip she had. I believe she went by herself. Additionally, that's what she wanted. And this is the first time I'm meeting her sister, but I remember she would like to get out to San Diego to visit you, and we had business actually right in La Jolla. So she combined seeing you and going there. But most of all, her great passion was for her family. I met Gene. My daughter ended up just by chance working for the same Jewish organization that he was with. And he, although retired, would come in and encourage her. One of the big jokes was Gene accompanied us to a tax conference, and he wanted to see how long he could pass himself off as a tax expert. And I thought you could pull it off, Gene. But anyway, her great love, of course, was for Gene, her two children. I was with her hearing stories as they're growing up, whether it be in acting or getting into real estate and finance or business themselves. And really, she was a role model as I got older and I was raising children. So I have very good memories of her. It was more than just work. It was like the family. And while we worked very long hours and very involved with international, federal, state taxation, we also had lovely times going out and enjoying life. So thank you to Tish and to her family.
Thank you, Mark. Oh, I thought we were done. Come on. We're gonna 3 and done, and then I'm bringing my father up. Hold on. Hold on.
4 and done.
Oh, 4 and done. Okay. Dad, you're almost on deck. Hang in there. You're in the batter circle.
Hi, I'm Don McMahon. My wife and I moved to South Nyack, and it is hard to see it here. In '85, and we were good, sound Democrats. And we were just rolling along, voting in all the elections, and our next door neighbor was moving out. And he and Tish and a couple of the other people in the village ran something called the Village People's Party, an independent party whose goal was to pick the best candidates regardless of whether they were one of the major party representatives. So they kind of fingered us and said, "You're nice young people, you have little kids, you're going to be here for a while, you should come and be part of this." So they kind of circled us in and brought us in. Tish and this group had tremendous integrity to try to give South Nyack the best leadership it could. Tish appointed a number of people to zoning boards and planning boards and made sure that people had the proper training to engage in those. She was an endless supporter of the benefits of the village. She wrote grants. My wife got roped into developing community development grants. Tish was a consummate politician on the local level. She dabbled in the county level, which I don't know about, so I can't talk about that. But for the village, Tish shaped that village over the years. She was from planning and zoning through being a mayor. I think we're all indebted to her. I certainly am. My wife is. Mary Jane Alexander, if I don't mention her. So I just want to thank you for giving Tish to us for those years and letting us all benefit by her experience and wisdom.
My cousin Casey is going to be coming up to have a few remarks, and then Gene will be up to close us out.
My name is Casey Brennan, and I do not know Tish in the political realm or her civic engagement realm, nor is my aunt. I'm from California originally, so when we were in California and Tish and her family were out on the East Coast, we didn't see each other regularly, but often we would visit. But after I finished grad school, I moved to the East Coast. I now live in Washington, D.C., and I left my family behind when I came out here. They're all still in California. But Tish and Gene really kind of became my East Coast family, and certainly my cousins as well, Eugene and Nicole. I became far closer with them just due to proximity and the fact that they're awesome. I have so many great memories of Thanksgivings up in Pittsfield, having fires, having fun, having good food and good company. Speaking specifically of Tish, my memories of her are of an incredibly pragmatic and intelligent woman. She was, she was my aunt. I looked up to her. But when I think of her now as an adult and the lessons that she taught me and the values that I kind of absorbed from her, the thing that really most comes to mind is just a real get it done attitude. is going to stand in my way. And I have my beliefs, and I stand firm in them. And I remember hearing her speak, and this was one of those like core memories about the right of people to join in protests. This is kind of where we cross into that civic. And she was defending the right of people to be in a parade that she didn't agree with. She didn't like the message that they had, but she believed in their right to be there. And I remember thinking to myself, like, wow, that's like next level stuff. Like, I would just not like those people. But she really believed in that kind of stuff. So I have nothing but good memories from her. Eugene, Nicole, love you guys so much.
And yes, I'm going to call my father, Gene, up, and he's going to give some closing remarks.
No. You've just heard from my nephew, Casey. Casey is a high-level government employee dealing with, from what I gathered, with fisheries. So I asked Nicole once, what does Casey do? She said, oh, he's a fish cop. Well, maybe he's not, but it's great to see him here. I also want to say a word about Harriet Cornell and thank Harriet. She's gone ready. No, she's here. She's head of the legislature of Rockland County. Great person, great Democrat, done great things for this county. During Tish's political career, I became sort of like the prince in Great Britain. I learned to walk a step behind when we went to meetings. I was schlepped to a lot of meetings. And by the way, some of the meetings you've seen some of my great nephews and nieces running around here. Reminded me a little bit of the Rockland Legislature. With people running around without much, I don't know, much good behavior. But at any rate, so at one of these things that I was schlepped to, I was standing. I really didn't know many of the people. Everybody knew Tish, and Harriet Cornell came over to me. Of course, I looked lonely, I imagine. And I started to introduce myself to her, and she said, "Oh, I know you. You're Mr. Tish." I've told that story. By the way, I've told that story to many people, but I've never told it to Harriet Cornell until today. Mr. Tish. That's what I was known as, Mr. Tish. I, like the rest of my family, to thank you all for coming. It's very kind and sweet of you to do that. It's too bad that Tish is not here. She would have loved this. She would have absolutely loved this. She liked crowds. Interestingly, by the way, when I first met her, she was an Eisenhower Republican. As she developed over the years, she began to think that I was some sort of, fascist, communist, something. And because she really locked on quickly to being a Democrat and to love all the things that the Democratic Party stood for. So it is too bad she's not here. But earlier today, along with the other members of the family, we sent her ashes into the Hudson River.
and now she's part of the Hudson River. And I think it would have made her happy to know that, because she absolutely loved the Hudson River and loved being here. By the way, yes, of course she grew up the first 15 years of her life in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. But after she was 15 or 16, she never really lived there. She went to sleepaway school, then to college. Then after that, she came to New York, then Virginia for a year, but then we got married. So she was never really a Pittsfielder, but she became a Rockland Countyer, because when we were married in '61, we were able to rent a little stone house built in 1731 in Piermont. That, by the way, that's another thing that happens to you when you get to 90. You begin to forget names of people. And over at Kendall, my Kendall friends will tell you that what you do is you wear a big size thing with your name on it. And you tell people, oh yes, so people can know who you are. The truth is, so you know who you are. Somebody asks. With the exception of the 10 years we spent in Chicago, all the 1970s, we were in Chicago. I had a job there, and then they called me to come back to have a job in New York. I traveled a great deal. I don't think I was the father that I should have been, because I was mostly in an airplane going to the 34, at that time, 34 offices the American Jewish Committee had. But I always loved coming back here, and Tish was here. And she became more and more of a Rockland Countyite. Then, this is really, I don't know how many people know this, but the American Jewish Committee offered me a job in Germany. And I said, of course, before I can accept that, I have to talk to Tish about it, which I did. And she said, how long will you go for? I said, well, I think 2.5 or 3 years, something like that. And she said, you absolutely must take the job. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I'll never forget that. That I would be away, basically, not coming back occasionally, but I would really be away. That's the kind of person that she was. She saw it for me as something terribly important, and she said, you absolutely must do it. So, if you ask me about her, how she felt about things, I would say she felt that she was a Rockland County person, particularly a South Nyack person, and this was really her home. So I think it's very fitting to have this ceremony in Upper Nyack, and Nyack is just important to all of us. So I thank you for coming, and I now turn back to Reedy. By the way, uneven circumstances, very bad for people with bad legs. Let me tell you, I'm over at Kendall, where everything is flat, I'm perfect.
Yeah. Thank you again for coming. We're going to have a postlude that Jacqui is going to do, and the get up at your leisure. Again, you are welcome to walk around the grounds if you like. Oh, yes, thank you. When you go into the dining room to eat, if you so desire, there is a slideshow that will be going on with various and sundry pictures over the years. So thank you so much for coming, and you can go right ahead.